All right, so I had a question from one of my guys last week, and his question was, I get this question all the time, I'm sure a lot of coaches do. These were his exact words: how can I improve my sparring? And he went on to say, and now I'm paraphrasing, he went on to say that he feels over time he has been improving in his martial arts. So he feels it when he does pad drills, when he does bag work, when we do technique, but he doesn't feel the same progression is occurring within his sparring. And this is a very common thing. I think a lot of people experience this. I think a lot of people go through this. So I wanted to address it for everybody. My question back to him, whether or not I completely asked this to him, I can't remember. But what I needed to know from him is, how was he measuring his improvement in his sparring? And this is really important because take, for example, a pad drill. Let's say you're practicing a roundhouse kick and you're trying to get it to go head height. There will be incremental improvement if you practice over time. If you're doing all the right things, you will see visually that you're able to kick a bit higher. The pad holder has to hold it a little higher. You also have a point of comparison that you can look at your partner's kick, or you can look around the room at other people's kick, and you can see the improvement. It's measurable. The problem when you ask the question and when you're looking at something such as sparring to say, how can I improve at sparring, is it's just far too general and open-ended. There's far too much going on in sparring to just gauge improvement. Because I guess if we look at the objective of the game, so I use this example when we teach the kids about sparring for the first time. We use the example of a football game, or soccer, or anyone who's in America. In football, these are the objectives. Score goals into your opponent's net. Don't let your opponent score goals into your net. You can do those two things, you're winning at a game of football. Translating that to combat, in particular in a striking sport, it is strike your opponent and do not allow your opponent to strike you. Okay? So you can, that already there, we're getting a bit more measurable. So here's what I said to him. This was my advice for him to cut a long story a bit shorter. I said, you need to pick specific goals and specific things to work on each time you turn up to sparring. Because sparring, in the instance of how he's discussing it, it's a 1 hour session. We've got, let's say, 2-minute rounds with 20-second rest in between, rotating new partners every single round. That's the structure of the lesson. It's very much a case of self-improvement in the sense that there's no goal. I, as an instructor, am not saying I want everyone to do this. I want everyone to work on that. It's an open-ended session. Everyone just practices their sparring. But I said to him, and this is the advice to anyone who's wondering, is you set yourself a personal goal. So here's an example. I'm going to land my jab on everyone I spar today, at least once. That's a goal. And that goal is measurable by the amount of people that you manage to jab. It's also scalable. So for example, you spar in a class and the class has 10 people in it. You manage to jab 8 out of 9 of the other people in the session. There's one more to go. So now you've got something to work towards. Now maybe that one person who you couldn't jab was one of the brown belts, the black belts. And then we can now get into specifics about what you need to do to develop your jab and develop your technique in order to hit that person with a jab. Now we're talking. Now we can measure. Now we can improve. If, by example, you jab everyone, it can then be, I'm going to jab everyone twice. I'm going to jab everyone and then land X technique. Then we're getting into it. Vice versa to that, because remember the two parts of the game: hit your opponent, don't get hit by your opponent. I am not going to get hit on my head guard once this session. And again, you can measure it by how many times you do get hit, because inevitably you're probably going to get hit on the head guard. You can get even more specific about where you're being hit. And what you start to build at this point, and this is really what's crucial for your own personal development, is a personal awareness of where you need to improve. Because if you can identify on your own that you keep getting hit on the left side. You keep getting hit on that rear side, that lead side. You keep getting hit with a specific technique. Now you can start personally progressing and making improvement in that area. Now, obviously, if you're at a good club and you've got a good coach, they should be pointing these things out for you. But the fact of the matter is that if you're always going to wait for the coach to be there to offer the information, you're crippling your own, you're stunting your own growth, because your coach isn't going to be able to be there all the time. So it's very important that you develop a sense of self-improvement, as well as that being supplemented by your coach. You should be looking to improve as a martial artist the whole time, and your coach is there as a catalyst to help you improve by providing you with their knowledge. But a big part of that is that you need to start self-identifying. What are you good at? What are you bad at? What do you need to work on? What do you get hit with all the time? What do you never get hit with? And what adjustments can you make to improve? So that's about it, guys. Set yourself small, specific goals, work on them, develop on them. If you're commenting below, why not let us know an example of a goal? Let people work on it. I've come to the end of my drive, so I'm going to leave it there. I wish you guys a great day, and I will see you on the next one.